Okay guys, here is the third installment of the Zephyr build through. Put the glass rod on the top of the wing with the CA. I've gone through and cut the channel for the transmitter, video transmitter. Basically what I've done is I've made this copper piece here, and it goes in this soldering iron. It's a piece of number 12 copper. And what I've done is basically to cut a channel, I've drawn a line on the wing for the channel, and then what I've done is I've made this piece fit directly in that gun, and then I do is just drag this down, and basically I drug it down to where the round part's the depth that I wanted to go, and the straight edge leans right against to where my thumb is, and it keeps it from bottoming out any farther in the wing. And then I just drug it down through all the way across. Then I go through and then I cap that channel with some coroplast. You can use coroplast or foam or whatnot if you want to go ahead and do that. It's up to you depending on what you want to do. I put the servos in, a good quality servo. I put them up to where the rods are exposed. These are going to have 440 rods that are going to go back to the trailing surfaces back here. You can see what I did is I dropped the servo wire into the channel, so it ends up coming in there. These servos themselves, you can see I've wrapped them in black tape prior to putting them in the airplane. So if this servo ever needs to be replaced, all you really have to do is cut around the edges, peel the black tape up, and then you can pull the servo directly out of the wing. So it makes it for a pretty easy replacement, and then they can just fish the wire out of the tunnel here. This is for the batteries that are going to go in here. I went through and added a strengthener rod on the top and the last flute that does not open in here. I've put a doubled up, there's about a 1/4 inch of ply in there, two 3/16 pieces glued back to back and then mounted down in the wing for a solid camera mount so they can screw whatever down that you want to put in there. There's going to be a tunnel in this battery bay that goes from one bay to the next bay so that you can feed the wires through and then plug both batteries in either on the right side or the left side depending on how we do it. I'm going to have a hole that comes out on the front of that right here, and the wires are going to go directly out to the back of the camera. The motor mount looks exactly like this motor mount. I've already cut it out of the airplane right there. And then I glued the mount in. You can see the mount where it's been glued in. It's actually flat and mounted right in, right on top of the main spar, because the main spar runs across here. And I've glued that pad of foam back on there, and what I'm going to end up doing is I'll just keep taking this razor knife back and forth until I get it trimmed just right, and then I'll go ahead and clear the rest out with my gun here. So that's basically it. This is the tool. Like I said, it's a Weller D550 with a piece of number 12 copper in it, and I got it. Copper's made a little bit smaller diameter than the actual servo width, and I use that to cut everything else out. And this is the tool that I use to cut the spars out. This is a blind nut, and the screw that screws into this is brass, so it never gets corroded no matter what. But you can, what I usually do is set that straight edge down after I draw a line on the wing, and then I can run this right along that straight edge, and I can make it the depth I need to drop the fiberglass spar in. And once the fiberglass spar is in, I run a big, huge, thick bead of CA over the spar, and then I come out here and I spin it. And after I spin it, I get all that CA to go in, and then all I usually do is take a piece of scrap EPP or something, and I smush down all the CA, and once the CA is smushed down, I'll activate it. And then once it's been dry for a little while, I will actually take a sanding block and go through, or sandpaper or sanding block, and I will go through and basically like this, and I'll go through and just sand any of the little rough spots that come up from when CA cures. That's pretty much the lowdown on this model. I'm gonna have excuse me, I'm gonna have a couple pads of EPP in here. I'm gonna also run a couple pieces of 256 rod, steel rod inside here, and then I'm gonna have some magnets, and the magnets are going to be set here, so when this lid closes, it's going to actually hold itself closed. So that's the equipment bay. It's pretty darn big. It'll hold just about anything you need. You know, ESC off to one side, and you know, a lot of people do is they'll take the ESC for cooling and then just mount it, put a Velcro tab or something out here, and just put the ESC on the outside. That works well too. So whatever you want to do, that's the new video. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm just taking my time on it. The motor mount area, you can see it's been cut out about 5.5 inches from the center out, and then about 6 inches from that root center out, and then a line has been drawn. So I mean, the motor on this airplane has been cut in substantially far. The cord is already huge, so it's not going to make a whole lot of difference, but since this airplane is going to be flown at altitude, I'm trying to get the center of gravity to be able to be attained real easy with light batteries and light gear, just to make this wing have a lighter wing loading at 9 to 12,000 feet. There's a whole pile of Zephs right there, just getting them cut.